Marissa can, why don't you move all the way down and you can take the attendance, right? Whole committee is here with the exception of Mr. Ucalito, and as usual, a lot of people, and we welcome that crowd always. Approval of the agenda. Will someone move to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
We have an agenda. Minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, anyone find anything that should be noted? All those in favor?
Aye.
We have minutes. Josh, anyone out there in Cyberland?
No, there is none.
Okay, and is anyone here going to consider himself or herself a part of the public to speak? In which case I don't have to read the paragraph. And now we move into the actual agenda, which is short, only 3 items tonight, one of which will take next to no time, a couple of which is good though, because we'll have the time to actually get into some of these things without policy following us. And I think we will start with Forbes and Southwest School Report. Kristen, you visited Southwest. Would you like to say something about your visit before we?
Sure. I was at Southwest on Monday. Met with Dr. B. It was reading day. Just let me know next time because I'll come and I'll read for Southwest as well. I read for Forbes today. Yeah, I continue to be impressed by Southwest and just how neat and organized and efficient and clean in the use of space. As someone who has OCD, I can really appreciate that. So, I got to see some guest readers. Mr. Wilson was one of them. And actually what was really cool was there was a Spanish reader there reading to a group of Spanish students. So that was very nice to see that they were able to have a reader just for them. What else? Oh, the food program, the food scraps. That was really cool. So there's an animal rescue not far from where you live. And the kids, they know that they have to finish or eat what they can on their plate, and anything additional goes in a bin, and they're learning about, the rescue animals, and they're giving the food to the pigs. And how many pounds is it? 18,000 something?
No, it feels that way when I haul it, I just don't, I'll be hauling it tonight. After today, we just hit 1,600 pounds that have been donated 26 days.
So that's really cool, and it's teaching the kids about the animals too, so that's nice. And yeah, I had a really nice visit. It was great to see the teachers in action, and they all seem to be having a great time, and the kids are respectful and learning. Great visit.
Thank you, and I gotta say kudos, because Dawn was here, I think I saw her. She orchestrated the whole read aloud, and all the teachers pitched in and invited family relatives to come and help out as well. And it was great to have our Spanish classes, so Dawn really, she's the rock star in this one. So thank you. Thank you so much.
And Bill and I visited Forbes on Friday and had a very pleasant tour of the building. Mr. Klein walked us through, showed us a couple of programs, and it was just, as always, and it's not that it isn't true every time I say it, but I say it every time. You walk through our buildings and it's just, things are happening, people are learning, there's purposeful activity going on all over the place, and it's just a very pleasant place to be, and it's good to hear about all the good things that are happening. And we will hear more about both schools as we go through and have a chance to talk about those and ask about those. Bill, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I do. I was impressed with what I saw. We spent some time with Mr. Klein. He was telling us about the students and the progress that they've been making from year to year. The most interesting thing I saw was a self-contained classroom with about 14 students, one teacher, and they were working on different skills, which was really impressive. They were working, when we were in there, they were working on their vertical whiteboards. They were doing some reading and some math. One of the things that struck me was the creativity of the teachers. One of the rooms we went into, it was during math, and they were talking about and trying to figure out probabilities by throwing dice, which I thought was an interesting way way to do that. And another room we were in, they were working on tenses in English, present, past, and future, and developing some sentences using those tenses. It was the first time it was the first time that I'd been in any of the classrooms here, and I was really impressed.
Speaking for somebody who was there, Mr. Knight was quite a celebrity too. Well known by just about everybody in the building too, so it was great to see.
Terrible to go any place with Bill. He knows everyone knows him. Before I turn it over to Mary Ann and Michael, I should have given you the chance to, you said you wanted to introduce people who were.
Yeah, we introduced, we're so happy to have our new directors of humanities and STEM. We did do a shout out and a formal introduction at the recent full board meeting, but both of our directors are here. Mary Gadd, raise your hand, is K-12 humanities, and Linda Tran in the bright pink is math and science. So thank you very much, both of you, for being here tonight, and welcome aboard. They've been here a month, right? It was a month on Monday. They started February 3rd, and we just immersed them. They have been doing a world tour, if you will, around Torrington. They've spent several days in each school. They've met the staff. They've gotten to know our climate and culture a little bit. And I think, Joanne and I met with them yesterday, and I think we're ready to rock and roll, right? Yeah, so thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, and welcome. And now, Michael and Mary Ann, your turn.
Thank you. Set, Josh?
So I know Mr. Kisco's typical mantra, keeping it to the point, and we will do our best to keep the abbreviated version, but we've got a lot of great things to share in terms of the progress at both schools, and we're excited about the vision that we're having right now. So thank you guys for the opportunity to kind of share and brag on Southwest and Forting's progress.
So this one obviously just shows the leadership team. Sean Cabaston is our supervisor, student services, that we share between both of our buildings. And our work with everything geared toward portrait of graduate. So when we met with our teachers this year, our initial goal setting things, how's it aligning with our portrait of graduate? And we've been doing work as an administrative team and our portrait of graduate work, so.
Just quick mission, vision, and values. I think it's always important to ground our work in the things that we believe in and the direction that we're headed. Truth be told, it all aligns with the POG work that Mary Ann just talked about, and we're having conversations with our kids, with our staff, and especially with our parents on a daily, so it's been helpful. So here's a couple of the things that we've been really striving for and working towards. Again, I'm not gonna sit here and read off of a slideshow for you, but a couple things that I do wanna point out, especially down at the bottom. The last 2 years, Southwest and Forbes have both been schools of distinction for their growth. I know Southwest for math 2 years ago, and then for us for ELA growth last year. For us, I can tell you that it meant that collectively we were 37 out of about 1,100 schools in the state in terms of student growth. Our kids are growing at a rapid rate, and we are very proud of it. I know that Southwest had similar growth in the math side 2 years ago, which is what got them into that same boat. But it just means that the work that we're doing is translating to kids, and it's really having an impact on them too.
We were in the bottom half of the state the year before, so we had a huge leap of growth.
To me, I think that there's a lot of, again, great continuums of support here in Torrington, especially our schools. A couple that I just want to point out, that transition class approach, that's something that we're piloting here at Forbes that Mr. Knight kind of referenced as well with the 14 kids that we have. What we were able to do is at Forbes, we redeployed our staffing allotments a little bit and looked at our students based upon need. And we found kids that had always been struggling, always been in intervention, and never able to kind of hit some of those grade level marks yet. And while they weren't necessarily so far behind grade level that we were at risk of retaining, they were right on the cusp. And one of the things that we've done is, Mr. Knight's dear friend, Mr. Bader, again, one of those rock stars that has been just shining the light on. He's been working hard with these kids. In his class, they came in averaging about the 20th percentile in both reading and math. He already has them up to the 40th percentile. They've already gained a full year's growth in math. They've gained a full year's growth in reading, and that's in a half of a year. So when we look at that growth and we translate it, they're on track to make 2 years' growth in 1 year. It's absolutely incredible. He's closing gaps and getting kids back on grade level and getting them back ready for middle school in a way that we could have only hoped for about a year ago. So we're really excited about that piece. What we did is we just limited the class size, we limited some of the distractions, but we also made sure that his intervention blocks and his support around him continuously wrap around kids. So you might go into the classroom and instead of seeing all 14, you might see 5 because he's got 9 or so that are off at different intervention groups and pockets, but it's working. And I think that to me is the most important part, is that, and I know it happens at Southwest too. It's what I need, it's the instructional coaching, it's the transition, it's all of these things that are connected in together in terms of a scheduling approach that make sure that we're thinking about kid first, and it truly makes a huge world of difference.
Can't stress enough the work that our instructional coaches do. They are a godsend. They are true instructional leaders. They are modeling really dynamic lessons. They are putting teachers on coaching cycles to improve instructional strategies. Once again, we thank the district for even getting the vertical whiteboards, so now we can see learning in action and see the thinking classrooms. It's really cool to see the kids engaged and taking ownership of where they're going. It's really cool.
So here I'm gonna get into a little bit of data, and it's just some of the numbers. The best way to read this is to kind of stay on color and then within the grade level reference, if that makes sense. So Forbes is the blue columns and Southwest is the green columns. The beginning of the year, left to right. So for example, that 44 in the top left for grade 4 Forbes, we had 44% of kids reading on grade level at the beginning of the year. In 4th grade, at the mid-year point, we already have 55% of kids reading on grade level, up 11% from the beginning of the year. That tells me we're making huge headway. The fact that we're on pace to have 20% more kids reading on grade level by the end of the year, I am ecstatic about. When you look at the percentage in that next column over, that 66%, that means 66% of kids are making their personal growth targets. It doesn't matter if you're above grade level, below grade level, and the typical progress or the typical projection is 50. So for us to be at 66, 68, 52, 65, it's really incredible to see that we continue to exceed some of those expectations across the board here at Forbes and also at Southwest too, when you look at the next column over. The part that, as a parent, that I see, that next little part that's in the parentheses there, is the average amount of growth per kid. So in a half a year, that number should be 0.5. So when you look, the average kid in 5th grade in reading, both at Southwest and at Forbes, have grown by a full grade level's growth in a half a year. When you think about the improvements that we have, the amount of kids that we now have working at grade level, when you're looking at it, on my half of the chart, you're looking at about 40 to 50% of kids. Now I'm at 50 to almost 70%. You know, like, we are making a huge headway here, and it's only making a bigger difference for us preparing the kids as they go up to the middle school and high school and getting them ready for the path that they have ahead.
Now we'll get into our smarter balanced reading and math and our percentage at each of the grade level benchmarks. It's hard to see it. It's very hard to see these numbers, and I even have a hard time seeing, but there's been ups and downs, so. Sue, you brought up a good point several years ago where Torrington used to be way at the top of the scales with all these assessments, and things have changed over the years, and we've had a lot of things happening in COVID, and we're gonna get back there again though. Chris, I think the fact that we've invested in some really good curriculum, when we're investing in our coaches and our instructional models, our testing scores are gonna continue to climb and move up. We have a ways to go and we're gonna get there.
The part that I would
Yeah.
love to add on to that too is it's not unique to Torrington too. Look
Right.
at the state, look at where the state was. That black line is that COVID gap that you had where the 2 years weren't reported on. So if you look back to pre-COVID, the state was at 55, almost 56% of kids at grade level. Now as a state, we're at 48, 49%. But again, we continue to close that gap on getting more and more kids at grade level. And again, the same is happening in math too, and I know that we're having conversations around instructional materials. And as an admin team, we had some great conversations around that today, and I know our instructional coaches and OTL group as well are having those great conversations. But we see good things too. We see great things in our classroom in terms of the work that kids are doing. And I think it's anchored in the standards, and it's anchored in the expectations of what we want kids to be able to do. To me, that's the most important part. And I'm gonna shout out to my staff right now. For the first time in the last 2 years, Forbes was above the state average. And that had not happened way back when. When I think back to even pre that 2018-19, and you go back way before then, Forbes was in the 10th percentile statewide. Right now, we are in the 60th percentile, give or take, and we are moving in the right direction. But a lot of that is because we got the right resources in play. We've got teachers that are all moving in the right direction together. And a lot of it, as Mary Ann talked about, is our instructional coaches too. They push the needle every single day for our team.
Michael, can you just share some of the engagement that you're having with families? Because that's
So I
a
think
critical
one of
piece.
the key parts too is that we've had some great conversations with our families. I've had about 40 to 45 meetings over the last 3-4 weeks with our parents. We're bringing parents in to talk about where their kids are at and having honest, open conversations and talking about what it looks like in terms of their STAR scores, their state scores, their local unit scores right in front of us. And our parents are really appreciative because our team does a lot of great work, and they've been working at some parent communication reports that go home now with every unit assessment that have been tied in with our ELA and our math assessments as well. But the best part is that there were times last year when I would have a meeting with a parent and say, hey, so, Johnny got a 64 on the reading test. They did, and they would be more surprised than anything else. But now I'm having these conversations with parents and I'm saying, hey, so, we got a 52 on the most recent math test. Oh, I know, and they struggled here, here, and here. Parents are more engaged, they're more in the know as to what's going on. But the best part is we're setting them up for success at the middle school and high school, and we're having that vertical conversation because truth be told, when we're looking at kids that are even stagnating, they might not be doing well on their unit tests, but they've got tremendous upside and they're scoring 4s on state tests and they're scoring in the 90th percentile, but then they're scoring like a 65 on their unit test because they're going, hey, I don't really have to do too much. We're bringing them down and actually having conversations around, you've got potential here. And we're reminding parents and having great conversations around pathways up at the high school in terms of UConn courses and advanced courses of what that trajectory looks like and what that sets them up for in terms of the college pathway too. And we're having conversations around things like SAT scores and PSAT scores. If you're in the 90th percentile here, you're most likely to have somewhere in like the 1400s on the SATs. And parents are leaning in because we're able to articulate that piece out. But then the interesting conversation comes into like, hey, this is the piece of work. Yeah, I understand that it might have gotten you a 2 on the report card. However, when you go up to the middle school, you're probably gonna get like a 60 on that. And they go, wait, what do you mean? I said, they didn't elaborate, they didn't give the details, they didn't stay on topic on this piece here, and they're missing this, this, and this. The parents go, oh yeah, I can see that, because this is what a sample might look like. And the kid goes, oh. But when you connect it back to things that make sense and are the reality that we all grew up with, parents really resonate, and it's been very productive, so thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
You wanna?
Yeah, so this is again where Southwest and Forbes have shined the last 2 years. This is our growth, and this is what we really hold our hat on. We understand that our kids come in from different backgrounds and different expectations, but when you look at the state growth targets and percentage of growth achieved or target achieved, the state's hovering around 60% on both ELA and math. The last 2 years, Forbes has been around 75, in both ELA and math, and Southwest has even cracked 80 a couple times too with the math side there. The work that we're doing is moving the needle for our kids. And we're seeing that across the board, both on our local assessments. Our unit scores are higher this year than they were last year. For year 2 of a reading curriculum and program, we're seeing about 10% higher scores across the board. And we're also seeing it on our STAR scores, we're seeing it on our state scores. All of our information is kind of connected, and it feels good that we're heading in the right direction.
This talks about our chronic absenteeism over the years, so if we look back, I mean, look back at the 2018-19 year, and you just look at the visual, you don't need to see the numbers. We were low then, and then went very high, especially during those COVID years, which was very challenging, and we're trying to get these kids back in the classroom, get families being more comfortable sending their children to school. Our LEAP grant has been a godsend, sending teams into homes, getting more of these home visits. We have, I'm gonna brag about a student who had well over 80 absences last year and has only missed 4 days this year.
Did you say 80?
Yeah.
80?
Yeah, and has done remarkably well. Loves coming to school. So
Chronic
Those are-
absenteeism is 10 or more, right? What is that?
10%.
10%.
10% of,
Which
You
ends
missed
up
10% of the
translating
days.
to 18 days, give or take.
And what Mary Ann just said doesn't happen without a child feeling welcome and loved, right, to come to
Yeah.
school. Yeah. So that's the special sauce.
And then saying to the family, I gotta get to school, which is really cool. So that's come far. We've had a lot of success, a lot of individual success stories on attendance. We have some more to still work on. So this slide is our RTI, our response to intervention process. So our interventionists work very closely with our teachers and our students. We look at the data and we divide up the grouping to see how to best service our students. So this year, grade 4, 57 students will be in service to date, and grade 5 is 42. 31 of those 57 are meeting goal of the SBG, 27 grade 5. The ones that we had to increase support based on our last data team meetings. In grade 4, we had to add 4 more students to get a little more extra support, and 5 students in grade 5. But then to decrease the support where they're back in the general classroom more often for that tier 1 RTI, we're pleased with those numbers. That's 16 in grade 4 and 20 students in grade 5, so it's heading in the right direction. We have 16 students in grade 4 and 12 in grade 5 that are currently in the SST process where when some kids go out, there's more coming in. That's just how it works. There's a lot of kids who we work very closely with. One student in 4th grade has qualified for special education. We have one currently in the referral process based on the work that we've been doing, all the testing. And then we've had 2 that did qualify for special educational services after going through all the tiers of intervention and support. So the process works, and once again, those interventionists work like crazy, and Kristen got a kick out of their classroom because it's 3 teachers in that one classroom. So we call it the Three's Company classroom, and they service our kids really well, and they know those kids, they know them the whole.
And at Forbes, we've had very similar numbers in terms of percentages, but the part that I just wanna kind of stagnate on and stay there for a second, look at that top line.
Mhm.
That means that collectively, there's about 110 kids in my building that's received intervention and support through the first 6 months of school. Not only are they receiving it just one cycle, many of them are receiving it for 2 and 3 cycles. You're talking on average, their caseloads are 30 to 35 kids per cycle. They're servicing a ton of kids. It is a huge piece of why we have the huge growth and why we have more kids working at grade level today than we did yesterday. And that's part of the magic sauce of what's going on.
Can you just describe what a day in the life of an interventionist, because I don't know
Yep.
if folks
So-
understand.
They start their day at 9 o'clock. They go back to back to back. I believe they have 9 sessions where they have 30-minute blocks. It goes 9 to 9:30, 9:30 to 10, 10 to 10:30, and they go over and over and over and continue to work with. They do get breaks. They do get their contractual obligatory prep time. They have all of the things that they're asked to do. But a lot of the scheduling that they asked for, and especially, I know one people, they said, Mike, I just wanna go back to back to back to back because I wanna maximize my time here. And if I have 10-minute blocks or 5-minute interruptions in between my sessions, it means that if you piggyback those together, that's one less group, and I don't wanna serve one less group, I wanna serve one more group. And that's the mindset that we have here, and I know over at Southwest it's the same, but it's all about kid first. And when you think about those 110 kids that we've been able to get, I have roughly 310 kids in my building, 4 or 5, you're talking a third. A third of this building goes through intervention support, and there's no stigma to it. It's not about and I got you, or a look at this, it's about what do you need that I can do to help you, and teachers are filling skill gaps left, right, and center, and it's moving the needle for our kids.
RTI is not, that is only for regular ed students, right?
Correct.
So it's even more impressive really, because you have 310 kids at a 15% prevalence rate. That's like 260, 270 regular ed kids, and you're reaching over 40% of them in both schools in their rotation. So really, you are getting to a lot of the kids.
And when you look at both mine and Marianne's SPG, the percentage of kids is supposed to be about 50. We're both cranking away at 75 to 80% of kids hitting their individual targets and goals, which means it's moving the needle, not just in the classroom, but also for them wholeheartedly across the board.
What's
Because
SPG?
Student, percentage of growth.
the other impressive part is that you remove the stigma when half the kids are doing it. You know, when you're reaching so many people, it's not that little Johnny got pulled out or Jeff got pulled out, or, you know, it's normal for these kids now.
100%. And the part that I would say that really speaks to me as an educator too, when I first got here 4 years ago, the highest kid that we put in intervention because of the number of kids that we had in terms of like volume would have been like the 18th, 15th percentile. Now I'm able to reach somebody at the 35th percentile, 38th percentile, 40th percentile. They're not yet at grade level, but the skill gaps that I'm closing are a whole lot closer to being at grade level. And that's what's also getting more and more kids over that threshold too, which I absolutely love, but it's that continuation from K to 1 to 2 and continues to move forward for us.
So this is our behavior referral data. I appreciate Michael broke it down by the months between the past 2 years, so you can just see the drops from last year to this year, which is wonderful. I know at Southwest, we have dropped 40% in discipline this year. I will also like to add that when we keep track of our data in our building, we really stress that the teachers enter the minor referrals as well, because that's part of our behavior team data processing to start looking at students who may have behavior referrals that we have to look at that is interrupting the learning too, and what can we do to get them the help and the resources. So when you enter data into Swiss, you can do majors, which is just managed by the principals. That's like the reach that level, and we enter that data as major behaviors. Or minors is teacher entered data. So this is a reflection of all the data. Does that make sense?
It does, and at Forbes, we're entering both as well, and
Yeah.
honestly, I think we're excited on both schools. We're both seeing a downward trajectory in terms of behaviors, but kids are engaged in their work, so it's great to see.
And it goes back to the coaching and the instructional strategies, and there's less interruption in learning.
I think kids feel more successful, right, as learners, even, and I know this is about grades 4 and 5, but even when we visit kindergarten and first grade and they're actually reading a book and they're reading it out loud and they're so excited, you know, to say, look at me, I'm a reader, I can read, you know, and it really does have an impact on their social situation.
So again, we've talked a lot about all of these things, whether we're talking about coaching, whether we're talking about intervention, EL support. I know Ms. Creedon is here tonight, and our team at Southwest and Forbes are both doing great things. I think we just got hot off the presses that 20 or so of our 50 here at Forbes have tested out because they've done so well on their last links testing. And again, not final numbers, nothing that we're gonna report on officially, but we're excited to see. And the mental health team, the attendance team that Mary Ann was talking about with LEAP, that collaborative planning time with our coaches has been huge.
Our
we
grade level meetings as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, that last one that Sue asked about earlier, that parent outreach piece. That, we've talked a lot about turning gears here at Forbes. We turn the student gear, get them moving and get them shaking. We talked about the teachers with getting them with the instructional strategies and the new curriculum. But a lot of that next gear that we're starting to turn are the parent gears too, and get the parents in to have those conversations. Because when we fully wrap around both here at school and also at home, it's making a world of difference. Yeah, so just having fun, had a lot of great events over the last couple days. 1000th day over there, we had a basketball game where Mr. Wilson thinks that he beat the teachers. But again, we have fun, and I think at the end of the day, we see great things in our buildings, we have a lot of smiles. But most importantly, the work that our kids are doing is moving needles for them.
This will be our kiddos having fun. Once you can see the vertical boards on the far left corner with the kids working together collaborative on, that was a ELA lesson, I believe, that I was watching. Below is a school spirit day. We have, I gotta give our kids credit, they're climbing the rope in gym class. God, I hated that in elementary school, but the kids love doing that. They get up there and they tap that ceiling. So they love that. Our music students, it's so nice to have our 5th grade ensembles, our orchestra working there. Mr. Morrow's done a great job. He came on board late in the year, but oh my gosh, he's so talented. So the kids just love working with him and aim to please him. And there's more kids working together in the classroom. And then we did a Shark Tank type challenge also where the women kids had to present their business proposals and got to get big money. So that was fun too. That's
Just
all.
about wraps us up.
Thank you very much. I will exercise chair prerogative and start with a question and a comment. The comment is on that transition grade that I saw, that Bill and I saw. And that really is the spirit of the social promotion policy.
Yep, that's why we did it. Yep.
Make sure that kids are functioning at the level they're supposed to be at, and if they aren't, there are a lot of things you can do. And that program, to me, it was an example of a very good idea with the right people staffing it. I know the question about the FAST Academy is, well, who's going to be teaching? And there are many teachers who do very well, whose students do very well at the level of kid we're talking about, or the approach that's necessary. And if you get people who are made for those programs, not a problem. It's good for everyone. My question is, okay, all these great things are happening, and next year we're moving all the 4th and 5th grades. How are we gonna keep this going?
It's gonna be wonderful, right? We're gonna have everybody in one place. We're gonna keep 6th grade in this mix, which is going to solve, in my opinion, it's gonna solve many, many problems. We can use the resources that we have, the instructional resources, in a more efficient way, because all the students are gonna be under one roof. I don't know if you have anything to add, but that's kind of where I'm at.
I think the vision of the district in terms of painting that picture for curriculum, painting that picture for instruction has moved the needle for our kids, right? And I think when you look at the work even around some of our PD days that we had recently up at the high school, it was fantastic watching the Southwest side and the Forbes side collaborate in terms of instructional materials, both in ELA and math. And I think when you put these great people together, it's only gonna make it that much more of a powerhouse for both 4 and 5.
Being under one roof, not splitting staff, sharing staff, scheduling is a challenge when you share people, coaches are split, so there's a lot that being under one roof is gonna make a big.
And there's really bright spots in both 4-5 buildings, and if they come together, we can learn from each other, right? And replicate all of the great things that are happening in both places so that all kids have that experience.
We have our teachers, part of their goals this year was that make sure they got into peer classrooms to see their colleagues teach and other instructional strategies, and it's been great, because you leave there so invigorated and excited about what's happening. I just see that growing in a different school.
Yeah, I'm too worried about the teachers. I'm worried about the talented administrators who've got these programs started and going and running well. And we'll have to make sure that we don't lose anything in the transition and the translation to a new building. But I'm sure we'll figure that out. It'd be a shame to lose any part of this.
Yeah, we can't lose momentum at all, agreed.
Anyway, committee, questions, comments?
Great presentation.
Thank you.
I loved visiting Southwest, so thank you for the hospitality there, and of course, Forbes has a special place in my heart. As a Torrington native, I mean, I've lived here, oh geez, it'll be 45 years, God help me. I'm just so proud of our schools, and I wish more people could see the great things that our administrators, our teachers, our paras, our coaches, everyone is doing. Because it really is remarkable. And it's a testament to your leadership. So I thank you for that. I just couldn't be more impressed with the presentation tonight, so thank you. My kids are lucky to be in this system even though they're out of elementary school.
We're lucky to have the teachers we have.
Absolutely, we are.
Other committee members? Bill?
Great, it was a great presentation. I really enjoyed being here at Forbes the other day and getting to see different classrooms and different grade levels, because each room that we went into was doing something different, and the teacher and the students were definitely engaged with one another. And as I said earlier, just the creativity. I wouldn't have thought, I wouldn't have thought to work on probabilities using how many times you throw guys. I thought that was a terrific strategy to teach it, and I was as I said earlier, I was really impressed with the self-contained classroom and all that went on in engagement between the teacher and the students who were not necessarily working on the same thing, and both the student and the teacher being able to keep it straight. So I'm really happy that I had the opportunity to go through some of the classrooms.
Other committee members or board member questions or comments?
One quick one. When we move fourth and fifth to the intermediate school, will that help the sixth grade with benchmark? With benchmark, is sixth grade, it's kind of its own, I want to say its own orphan, but do you find that you think we're going to have an improvement in sixth grade because now everybody in the building is using the same materials and the same,
Yes.
more collaboration possibilities?
Yes, we rolled it out in sixth grade this year, and what we were able to do was reassign one of our 4-5 instructional coaches to grade 6 to go up there and just help with the initial year 1 implementation, because this is a very different way of teaching for folks who are used to a middle school model. So they're having sort of this initiation, a maiden voyage with Mrs. Martin. And thank you to Dawn Palutro, who is straddling Forbes and Southwest so that we can make this happen. But yes, they're getting there. We're gonna be able to do all the PD in one place, as Michael just mentioned. Yes, we envision that it's gonna be, because we're gonna have our coaches up there, it's gonna be great. And our 4-5 teachers will be in year 3. So, yeah.
So the hope would be that we'll see this fantastic result kind of carry itself forward into sixth grade.
Oh, I fully
Which is great.
expect that to happen.
I also see better growth this year in our classrooms than I did year 1 of the program too. So our unit tests are 10% higher on average, so our students are scoring more. But they also had the year prior's learning experience in the benchmark program. So some of it's the student and some of it's the teacher, if that makes
Sure.
sense too.
Yeah.
So I think the combination, the longer that we continue with and the more consistency that kids have through, it's only gonna breed better results.
Thank you.
Other board members or committee members? Okay, I don't do wait time the way Michael does, so we're done with this. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Great presentation. And as the pile of Kleenex bills in front of
Sorry.
Ferguson. No, keep them there, it's a good indication. We just need to get you out of here to keep you healthy.
Yeah, keep everybody else healthy, yeah,
John's measuring this by time here,
yeah,
so
yeah,
your pile.
When the pile gets so high.
Ben John's ending it.
yeah. I'm trying to keep
No
my
longer
germs
see
to
your
myself,
face.
And
yeah.
now we move on to the world language
Yes,
presentation.
it's my
Please
pleasure
introduce
to welcome and introduce Catherine Haas. Catherine is and she can tell you a little bit about herself, but she is one of our world language teachers at Torrington High School, and we have been having an ongoing conversation with Catherine and her colleagues for a couple of years about sort of a vision for what world language could look like in Torrington, right? So what you're gonna hear tonight from Catherine is really more philosophical and aspirational, because there clearly are budgetary implications. Mrs. Creedon has actually been in conversation with folks from across the state of Connecticut about exciting things in the world language realm. And, you know, we now have, as you know, more than 50% of our kids speak Spanish, right? So, or a language other than English. So anyway, I don't wanna speak for you, Catherine,
you.
but thank you for coming
No, thank you.
and sharing all of this. I don't know, it's kind of exciting to think about the possibility.
Yes, very. So yeah, thank you. My name is Catherine Haas. I'm a Spanish teacher at Torrington High School and also the World Language Department Chair. And as Sue said, I'm excited to share with you and grateful for the opportunity to kind of share a vision of potentially expanding our world language access to our students. So I'm going to kind of go over the research that's out there, the ways it would benefit our students, and where we might go in the future. So I wanted to go over currently what our program looks like in Torrington Public Schools. So at the middle school, our sixth graders currently receive a trimester of either Italian or Spanish. Some of them receive one of each. This is more of an exploratory course, same as in seventh grade. In eighth grade, there's no longer the trimester courses, but there are about 97 students right now who receive a full year of either Italian or Spanish. And that gives them a credit going into the high school, so they would actually start at level 2. And then at Torrington High School, we have Spanish and Italian in levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we offer UConn ECE courses for UConn 4 and 5. We offer Spanish for Spanish speakers courses at level 1 and 2. And then we have people, places, and languages for both Spanish and Italian.
Can you just describe that a little bit so
Sure.
folks understand what that
Our
is?
People, Places, and Languages course still focuses on language, but has more of a cultural exploration to it than our traditional level 1 courses. So currently in Connecticut, every graduating student needs 1 world language credit, and then four-year colleges and universities, if a student is interested in pursuing that route, like to see 2 to 3 years of the same language studied. So I wanted to go over some benefits of increasing world language teaching and learning in Torrington Public Schools and kind of the 3 main benefits, and then some other benefits as well. So academic achievement is one of the main benefits. So starting world language learning at the elementary level has been shown to increase how students do in their achievement and other disciplines, including their reading and math scores. It also has been shown that students who are learning more than 1 language are in bilingual education, that their cognitive processes are benefited. And then also any student who is learning another language has been shown to have a more positive attitude towards the world outside their own. So there are economic benefits to being multilingual. So employers are relying more and more heavily on their employees who know more than one language, especially a language that is like Spanish or Chinese. And so they tend to earn $2,000 to $3,000 more than their peers who are monolingual. And then I also wanted to point out here that they also tend to excel more in the workplace because they can communicate with more people, they have access to more information, and they're able to create products that reach a larger audience. In the workforce, it also is a huge benefit. So 9 out of 10 employers, this is from a study from 2019, rely on employees who have an acquisition in a language besides English, and that's only been increasing. And then 56% of employers say that the demand for multilingual employees will increase over the next 5 years. So again, this was from 2019, so I think we could probably say it's even more permanent now. And then students who are college bound, there have been multiple studies that have shown that they outperform students who have taken at least 4 years of language study. It's been shown that they outscore their peers who have not had that opportunity by, in the verbal section and the math section, they outscore their peers. And on all the sections, about by 100 points, they outscore their peers in the SATs. And then I thought this was interesting. Students who studied 4 or 5 years of a foreign language scored higher on the verbal section than students who studied that many years of any other subject. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Seal of Biliteracy, which is something that we're super proud to have at Torrington High School, thanks to Joanne Creedon. She brought it to our school in 2022.
Thanks to our kids.
Yes, absolutely. But the Seal of Biliteracy is a mark of honor for Torrington High School students, and it provides them with a credential that it's to celebrate multilingualism. It shows their proficiency in another language besides English. And it's a credential that they can put on their diploma, so it helps with college applications. They can put it on their resume for employment, and even our students who are going into the military. It's an honor to have this Seal of Biliteracy. It prepares students to be 21st century global citizens in a multicultural and multilingual world. And it acknowledges the mastery of 2 or more languages, which is a valuable asset to both individuals and communities. I wanted to share with you some of the data from the last 3 years. So in 2022, 21 seniors were recognized with the Seal of Biliteracy and honored with that in 7 languages. In 2023, 22 seniors were in 6 different languages. And in 2024, we had 29 seniors who earned the Seal of Biliteracy in 3 different languages. I know right now there are 19 seniors who will graduate with it because they qualified as juniors. We test juniors and seniors. And then I know, Joanne, did you say 56 about students?
Yes, about 55 are signed up for testing.
Yeah, this spring. So we're excited to see in a multitude of languages. I think it was like 7 or 8. And so we're excited to see who will earn it this year and honor them. And so we have that. And then I thought it was important, since we're grounding all our work in the Portrait of a Graduate, to show how world language education directly connects and supports our Portrait of a Graduate competencies. So as for conscientious learner, world language education encourages curiosity about other people and cultures. And one of our standards is comparisons. And so in world language education, students make comparisons between their own culture and the one being studied. For responsible risk taker, world language teaching encourages students to take risks in another language. And then for confident communicator, all we do is communication, whether it's interpersonal, presentational, or interpretive. So we are constantly working to build our students' communication skills. For critical thinker, world language education requires and encourages higher levels of abstract thought and reasoning. For creative problem solver, the world language education increases creativity. Effective collaborator, one of our standards is to increase their intercultural competence. One of our standards is cultures, so developing empathy in our students to be globalized citizens. And then courageous leader, we promote interaction and collaboration within the community and the globalized world. So where do we go from here in our long-term vision? I'm gonna kind of let Brian talk about the pros and cons to both of these options, but we could potentially start with world language education at the pre-K level and move up to sixth grade, or we could start at sixth grade and move down. But I'll let Brian kind of give some facts about that.
So districts typically look at one of two options, which Catherine just mentioned, both of them, which is just a continuous roll down. So currently, of course, we have it down through the middle school, which would mean we would next bring it to the intermediate school and then down to the elementary schools. The other option that a lot of districts opt to look at instead, and it's usually because it's a cost-saving measure, is to start actually with your lowest grades and roll the world language program up rather than rolling it down. This does save a considerable amount of cost over the long-term rollout, not only in terms of number of teachers needed initially, but also in terms of rewriting curriculum, ordering new textbooks, ordering new resources. Those can all become an obstacle to trying to accomplish something like this. So those are the two different options that different districts have looked at across the state.
So this is a really helpful graphic that shows in world language education, we have a proficiency continuum. So students range from novice low, which is like you just started, and to you can get all the way to superior, but in public education in K through 12, really the highest you can get to is an advanced range. So this graphic shows the correlation between time studied in a language and the potential proficiency level that that student can achieve based on the amount of time they've studied. So obviously the K through 16, you're gonna get all the way into the high, advanced high. K through 12 is more like an advanced low, advanced mid. And then 3 through 12, you're at the intermediate high level. 6 through 12 is the intermediate mid level. 9 through 12 is intermediate low, and 9 through 10, you're looking at novice high, maybe intermediate low. Right now, we do have students that sometimes don't start language learning until their sophomore year of high school. And so really we're seeing them not get as far as we could. And just to understand the scale of biliteracy, in order to get the stamp or to get the scale of biliteracy, you have to score in the intermediate mid-range on all reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So where do we go from here? This is some suggestions from the American Council for Teaching for Foreign Language, which is our overarching organization for our standards for world language education. And so really the what is, in order to reach that advanced proficiency level, we would need to start at the elementary level and have a well-articulated sequence of study. The why is because starting as early as possible is how you get to that advanced proficiency. And so it's to provide that opportunity to get there, we would need to start at a younger age. And then the how, there's 4 main ways. So begin world language programs at elementary schools, design a well-articulated program from K through 12, provide multiple entry points into the curriculum so they can begin their study of additional languages, and set exit standards such as the seal of biliteracy. So yeah, that is our presentation. I would love to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll open it to questions in a moment. First, I need to comment. Your predecessor was one of my students when she was in high school, and now she is retired.
Yes.
So I think I've trumped your.
Wow.
I'm very old. But so welcome to the faculty.
Yeah.
Or welcome to your position.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, who wants to start? Who wants to start with questions or comments? Thank you for the presentation, by the way, very, very good. Not that language teachers haven't always thought we need more languages, but we do. It's one of those things that I don't think anyone could possibly disagree with. But nobody suggests what we stop teaching in order to start teaching language. We've stopped teaching French, but that's so we can offer other languages.
French, Latin, and German were all awesome.
No, Latin, that's, I fought that battle. That horse was so dead, we were still beating it.
I can still conjugate, oh, asa,
Very
I used to
useful.
walk by the Latin class and cringe.
Very useful. You can't really speak English if you don't speak Latin, but that's another, if you haven't studied Latin, but that's another story. That's an argument.
I would
But-
love to see world languages at the elementary level.
Thank
And
you.
I'm gonna speak personally, my goddaughter who's out of state started in early elementary. She's 30 years old now and she wanted to learn more languages, so she's got 3 languages under her
That's
belt now.
amazing. I love
Yeah.
it.
I don't have a question, but just some comments. Yeah, speaking, I'll age myself too. I was there when Ms. Shagru taught Latin, but my oldest didn't get a chance to take a language in middle school, but she is as a freshman and she's enjoying her Italian class and she will continue with that, but she's really enjoying it. And I'd love to see this program progress because I do think it's really important and I really like some of your points here. Yeah, the more languages our kids can learn, the better, so I'm on board as long as we can afford it.
Yeah, well, it's room in the curriculum that's always the problem, and the money to hire the teachers. How large is the language staff right now across the grades?
Sure, we have 7 of us at the high school and 2 at the middle school, so 9 in total.
Not too many, not enough, obviously. Are there any is there any private availability of language lessons if a parent wants their child to start early? I mean, learn Italian, you could do it when I was a kid by talking to your grandmother once in a while, but that's no longer the case.
I mean, there are programs out there, but I don't think anything replaces a classroom experience with a
No, I'm not suggesting that they're interchangeable, I'm just asking if this is available for someone who wants their child to get it, but it isn't offered in the school, so we would be it for offering language.
I agree that you really need that classroom.
Oh, yeah.
I took my kids to Italy my oldest was between 7th and 8th grade and she tried to teach herself on an app. And when we got there, she was like, I can't do this. But now she's much better in the classroom, so yeah, I agree, we definitely need that classroom instruction.
Yeah, we've explored online options and tried some out over the years and they just
Not as
don't
good,
work.
yeah.
Yeah. Kim can testify to that.
I think what you've been doing is talking with people from across the state in other districts to see how they do it, right?
Right, but one of the possibilities, not right now because the planning takes a couple of years, but we're going to have a dual language program, starting in one of the elementary schools, where both your Spanish-speaking students and your English-speaking students are taught in both languages in content, so that they're not learning language as something apart from what they're doing. And this has proven to be the most effective bilingual kind of programming. The research is very clear on that. So I'm just for hoo-has, no, hopefully for good reason. I'm doing some initial just exploration to get some information.
And as we progress along, actually one of the most renowned and respected world language programs in the country is located right here in the state. The Glastonbury Public Schools is considered to be one of the most premier world language programs across the nation, actually even outside of the nation. I went there a few years ago to do a visit and spend the day with them. The day I was there, there were representatives from school districts from across Canada, California, and Utah, all there to see what Glastonbury does. So when we do get a little further down the road, I think it might be a great opportunity for some board members and some central office folks to spend a day over there and really see how they approach world language. Certainly, just as when I was in Milford, I went there. We can't jump into what they're doing overnight. Obviously, it took them decades to build the program that they have, but it's really nice to see what the foundational elements are.
Decades and big bucks.
Yes.
Glastonbury, wealthy
Yes.
district, very wealthy. Joanne, this is probably a question for you. How much of our staff, faculty, teachers, paras, et cetera, are bilingual?
I don't really know the
I
exact
just-
percentage,
Do you feel that there are,
but it has certainly
lot,
been
or-
increasing over the years.
you know,
Certainly many, many more than when I first started. I would say, hazard guess as to the percentage. But it has been increasing, and, happy to say that now we have bilingual paras who are not necessarily part of our bilingual program, but are special ed paras who also are bilingual.
Lunch
We've
monitors.
got- Yeah, CAF monitors, a couple of the social workers are, and so it is,
we translate everything into Spanish and,
well, not for all of the students, just to be clear, that it's for what we send home, for example, communication home
right.
is to really build on that engagement piece that Mr. Klein was talking about, right? To make sure that all of our families understand what's being sent home.
Mr. Kisco, to give you a reference point, I've got about 85 staff members in this building, and I wanna say I've got about 10 to 12 that speak Spanish.
Which is better than having only a couple.
Without a doubt.
Okay. Mary Ann?
I was glad you brought up the employability of that, because, let's face it, as we're even screening applicants and candidates it's a question on our application process, if you have a language behind you, and we get excited when we see that. I have this one in my cafeteria who speaks fluent Italian and Spanish, and she's building such great relationships with our students. They feel so comfortable at that school climate we talk about, why you love coming to school. They can come talk to her about anything, and she can get the help that some of their kids may need, because you just build relationships with kids, and if you're doing it in their language, that's great.
And if you have a bilingual teacher, it's easy to incorporate, especially at the elementary level, throw in half an
I
hour
agree.
of your strong language. High school, I guess, is more of a problem. It has to be more distinct at the high school, doesn't it? Or in the middle school too.
Yeah.
Which is expensive. Well, it is.
Nice presentation.
Other people, I've been doing too much talking. Who else? Committee, board, general public, audience.
Jeff, I'll read the question.
I'm always in
Andrew
it
first,
for,
then Jeff.
for looking at Torrington compared to other districts around us in our competition, if you will. You know, where students leave our district. So I think it's always great if we can offer, the more we can offer here. The more likely they are to stay here, and the more likely they are to stay here, the more likely they're to come back and work here. So I look at it as just trying to keep the students in the district. I think it's a huge benefit. One of the reasons why some people do.
It certainly makes you look more academic to offer a strong language program. Jeff, you were going to?
I have one more. We have 65% or so of the employers are looking for Spanish, I saw in your chart, and then it's 30-some-odd% for Chinese, and then you look down the list at all the languages that Torrington has been known to offer in the past, 12%, 11%. Italian today is really, honestly, it's the heritage of the town, right? We were a very Italian town, Kristen's my grandparents, John, and we all have an Italian heritage in us. But if you look at it, as you expand the program, do you offer a language that's most useful to the kids to the future? We'll say like Chinese on your chart, or maybe this is a Joanne question, do you focus on the people who are living here? I mean, the diversity of this town is very different now, and you see the chart you give us every so often with the language is spoken. As the world language person, what do you aim for moving forward? What direction should the board be suggested to go in that regard?
I think that there's a few different answers to that. So I think that you can look at, critical languages that are needed in the world at the moment. I also think student interest is really important to find out what they want to learn. And I do think there's a lot to be said about where we're living. So I really think we'd have to kind of survey who we're teaching and figure out what they would be most interested in. Because ideally, like when we're building a world language program, you eventually want students to be interested in taking another language, right? So like they're gonna become proficient in Spanish, but hey, I'm also gonna take Mandarin and start that journey. So I think it really depends. Did you wanna add anything?
There's certain unfortunate realities to trying to offer certain language programs. Mandarin Chinese is next to impossible to offer. When I was in Milford, we attempted to run it. The only way to get a Mandarin teacher right now in the state of Connecticut is that you have to pay for their housing, you pay for their salary, and you have to pay for their personal transportation. I don't think that's an expense that we would be looking to take on right now. And even then, you go into a literal lottery and they pull districts at random. There's no guarantee even after you've made all of those arrangements that you're still gonna get a Mandarin teacher.
And people don't necessarily, they're not banging down our doors to come way out here, honestly. People view the northwest corner as just like
Woods.
yeah, they don't wanna come here.
We tried the virtual thing, we did a semester of a language where the students were all in the room, we did a virtual teacher, I know that didn't quite pan out the way we hoped. I was just hoping to get some guidance on what we thought the future of, as we have the conversation, what is the future of Torrington? What languages should we aspirationally offer?
Just to kind of piggyback a little bit on what Jeff is saying, you know, and I think that's a really great question. You want the kids to be interested in what they're learning, because otherwise they're not gonna learn it. But as a parent, I'm pushing my kids to take Spanish, because let's face it, that's the future. You know, and it's going to, but one's taking Italian, so whatever. And she doesn't listen anyway. But, you know, I think you make very valid points. There's so many different, there's pros and cons to everything. And Jeff is right, Torrington used to be so separated, like you had the Italian section, the French section, the Slovak, the Irish, it was just, yeah. And we offered all those languages in school, and things have changed, so we need to change with them, so.
Well, the parochial schools did a better job of teaching the European languages, but anyway.
I was just gonna say, I think even before we think about adding more languages, I think starting potentially Spanish at the elementary level would make a huge impact on our students' academic achievement overall, and also their proficiency in world language through their education here.
Is there a hand up over here? I thought I saw.
Maybe not.
I did have my hand up,
Okay.
so, not really to answer you, Jeff, but to make a comment and, you know, like, how do you decide what languages of the future? Well, I mean, a few years ago, maybe more than 2 years ago, was it Russia? Did everybody need to know Russian? Was it Chinese? Was it, whatever, Arabic? Arabic isn't, you know, and then do you consider what's happening in the world and where the future jobs may be? You know, so does it connect with career pathways? So I don't have an answer to your question for sure, but it
She's just trying to
does.
make your question more complicated.
There you go.
But you decided
Pretty
the
good at
questions,
that.
right, because it is that complex. But I would say, I'm with Catherine, let's start with Spanish at the elementary level as a starting point.
That's where you catch it.
And a huge advantage is you don't have to learn a separate alphabet to learn Spanish. There's the Roman alphabet, as opposed to Mandarin where you have to learn
It sounds kind of fun though.
5,000
Yeah.
characters, Cyrillic, et cetera, et cetera. This is actually a matter for the curriculum committee, isn't it?
Well, I was just gonna say, John, that this excites me, and thank you, Catherine, that was lovely and thoughtfully done, that the school improvement committee would be pondering this sort of thing, right? It's just,
Oh, no, it belongs here, but
Right.
the curriculum committee can actually do something.
we could, I think what we'd have to do first, honestly, is look at the budgetary impact.
Not gonna happen next year.
Exactly, but I love that we can have a meeting about something like this that is just philosophical and thoughtful and truly it is about school improvement, right? What can we do to improve the experience for all our kids? So, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your
Yes,
time,
thank
appreciate
you,
you
thank you
coming
very
tonight.
much. You planted seeds tonight.
You made some really great points.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, next item on the agenda, up to you, Mrs. Ferguson. And when you go on our website now, bang. It's
Right there.
in the newspaper a couple times in the last
Smacks
week.
you right in the face, right?
So how are we doing? We must have dozens of
What?
I got an email today, a reminder.
Yes,
But
I
we-
sent out the reminder today. Mary Graziani did the press release again at the beginning of the week, Monday or Tuesday. But this is the pattern. We typically don't start to get the nominations until I send out that second reminder saying, hurry up, you know, time is a-wasting, and then we start to get nominations, so.
But we have some from last year,
We have last year and the
some
year
very
before.
good ones from last year.
And we have two that just came in.
And two,
Two new
and we know
ones.
we will get more. And we are on schedule to look at that as a committee at the next meeting, at a non-meeting before the
April
actual
2nd.
meeting is the way we always do it. So please be alert to finding an earlier starting time for the next meeting. Because we're not at Midgeon, we're at the middle school.
Middle school.
Yes.
Right.
Across town.
So I just bring those packets to you folks at the March board meeting.
Right, we get those a week ahead of time is all we need it, but we do need it ahead of time.
Yep, you're
and
gonna
that's
get
enough
those
time.
packets, Mary's putting them together. I will bring those to the March board meeting. And then on April 2nd, at the next school improvement committee meeting, the SIG committee gets together, just the SIG committee members. I
Right,
just
and
wanna
I
make
think
sure.
what I've suggested in the past is that people pick their 2 or 3 and then we argue those out.
Yeah.
Which will still give us a large group because
Yeah.
they're not necessarily the same for everyone. So,
Right.
any further discussion on distinguished alumnus? And I guess we are too, topics for future meetings. Math curriculum, we will be talking about the math curriculum, you think?
Yes, we are going to bring forward a proposed textbook adoption for math at the April meeting.
Okay. Anyone else have something they want us to talk about next time? Will there be new courses, or are we pretty much done with those for the year?
No, right?
Nope, we're good
We're all set.
for this year.
But are we doing the middle school report?
We will be doing middle school report, yes. Middle school report,
Will we need to schedule a tour?
yeah, we'll text about that. Anyone else have any? No? Okay, moving right along. Comments for the good of the order. Start with Jeff.
Oh, great meeting, great presentations tonight. Thanks for entertaining all the questions as always.
Okay. Anyone
Thank you for having me.
next?
Thank you. The presentation on the language was great, and I agree. I think that elementary kids, including myself, would benefit a lot from, I work at Vogel, and we have a ton of Spanish-speaking kids. So to have the other kids be able to communicate with those new coming Spanish kids at that level would be awesome. I think that would be a great thing.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. The presentations were great tonight. I appreciate it.
Once again, I was impressed with what our high school offers, so let's bring in, this will be another offer. Joanne, I'm doing it for that bilingual classroom at the elementary level, but great job, thank you, everyone.
Bill?
Not much more to say than others have. It was a great meeting. The presentations were well thought out, and like everyone else's that I think would be important for languages to start at the elementary level. I wish that I had that opportunity, but didn't.
Josh? Good meeting. Marissa?
Great meeting. Ditto what everyone else said.
Sue, last words?
Just thank you so much to Michael and Mary Ann and to Catherine. It was a great meeting. Thank you, all of you.
Ditto, excellent presentations, the world language and the great things going on at 4-5, so awesome meeting.
Thank you, great meeting. Thank you for your time coming tonight. I know you work hard all day and appreciate you coming here to present to us. I actually texted my daughter about the people and places, and I said, you need to take this. If you're gonna go against my wishes, at least learn about my culture. So I'm excited about that. Thank you. Huge thank you to Mr. Klein and Dr. B. You guys continue to do awesome things at your level. And huge shout out to the high school, because there is no place I'd rather have my kids. Thank you. The offerings continue to impress me, the school, the admin, I love it. Thank you.
Any of the backbenchers want to say anything?
Backbencher says, great presentation. And yay, Catherine, thank you for bringing world language to SIG.
And my turn, Michael, thank you for hosting this.
Yeah.
Mary Ann and Michael, thank you for your presentations, And I guess I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, we're adjourned.